There we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tub Takes. This is a really, really big episode. I am really excited to be here with some special guests. We are recapping today. We are recapping the World Championships, and we are talking about the brand new circuit announcements that we had today, just a few hours ago. And I am joined by two of the best players in the world, not just the best players in Canada, but also the best players in the world. I am joined first and foremost by Ontario's finest, Diego. How are you doing?
Hey, Adi, thanks for having me. Doing great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Coming off of a top 16 finish at the World Championships, your first World Championships, super cool to see. Um, and I'm joined by another player who I think this is also your first Worlds, right? I am joined by
Yeah,
Navjit, who got top 8 at Worlds. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Where's thanks for coming on. And of course, last but not least, I am joined by my co-host Alex, who also had a heck of a Worlds. How are you doing?
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm excited. The news today is exciting. Worlds was exciting. It's gonna be a good up.
Yeah, it is a big episode, and as per usual, if you can't stick around for the whole time, this will be out on YouTube tomorrow. So make sure to check that out as well. It's I've got a ton of videos planned, a ton of team reports planned. So it's gonna be really fun. I always love the right after World Championships where we get to really break down everything, see all the crazy meta development that happened. Yeah, let's jump right into it. So first and foremost, I think the most important thing to come out of Worlds was actually the Tub Worlds draft. So who
True.
do you, so of course a couple weeks ago we drafted all the a bunch of players who qualified for the World Championships, and we got to see who scored the highest. And of course, first off, congratulations to Siri for winning the World Championships and Utah for getting second. And congratulations to Nails for winning the Tub Worlds draft. By based
Equal
on
merits.
based on who bubbled into top 32. That was the difference. And so if you have grievances about the round one buys giving you high resistance, so do I. This is all that's fault. But with that, let's talk about the actual World Championships. We have I guess I should let the players who actually did well at Worlds talk about Worlds. Alex, you wanna kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So I figured we break it down day by day, just because um there's so much to talk about with Worlds, and the tournament is going to be probably a lot of our focus, but the other aspects of it are important to note as well. And so Thursday is the day that like World starts. There's the check-in. And I just wanted to ask, like, when did everybody get to check in? I got there at 9. I know it started at 10, but I got there at 9.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first. I think I went around like 11, like a really bad time. I didn't know that our spectators didn't actually have to be present, apparently. I was
Oh,
thinking of going towards the end of the day. Yeah, I just heard like everyone going in was just getting their spectator passes without the spectators being there. And then so I hopped in line halfway through, took forever, got to the front, and I'm like, yeah, my spectators aren't here. And they decided to give them to me anyway. So I was just like, well, apparently that was a lie.
I
Yeah.
had my spectators with me, and they checked their IDs and stuff. So
Yeah,
it sounds like
same.
they would do it proper if they were there, but I guess they just
Yeah.
didn't want to bother caring about like coming back later or something. They were
Yeah.
just like, well, all right, just go ahead. Like
Uh,
I did not know that until now. That's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that line was huge and they looked understaffed. So it's
Oh,
like they had to
definitely.
pick their battles that day, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I got there, I think like 8:30. I asked my
Okay.
spectators to be there a bit early. But like we didn't get our competitive kits until maybe like noon. So it was like 3 hour waiting in line basically.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
Probably the same for you guys as well.
so I had a
Yeah.
different experience. I got there. I told my spectators that we should let's meet up at 10. We went for a hike that morning, and so I wanted to take a shower before waiting in line for a couple hours. And I remember we got there, and the line is obviously massive, like incredibly long. Like just about as long as Japan was, which is stupid. And uh, I I asked my spectators like, "Hey, do you guys want to come back like later?" And sadly they worked a little later, so I was like, "All right, we got to show up. Let's try to show up at like 2ish." And so I think we show up at 1:30 ish. And I remember as I was leaving the line at 10, I saw Enrique Grimaldo, Egrim, get to the back of the line, And then at 1:30 or at 1ish, I remember getting into the venue. It takes there's a big part of it that was outside, and then about maybe like half an hour, 45 minutes inside. And so about 1:30, I get inside and I see Egrim leaving with his competitor kit, which means that I know that the line was 3 hours long, and I can also tell you that we waited for about an hour and a half, showing up 3 hours later. So I was very happy with that decision. We kind of Kai-rolled the timing because I think that there were rumors that they ran out of competitors' kits at like 4 or 5. I don't know if they actually did. I don't know of anyone who didn't get one, but there was talk about it on Twitter. You know?
No, that's the thing, Adi, is I was trying to track down some of that stuff, and like one of the tweets that said they were running out of stuff was deleted. So it's just like I don't know if people are just lying or fear mongering or what.
So
But
what happened there?
it's hard to say.
They ran out of kits at the thing, and they had to restock. And I think Sohybe said he was in line at the time, but he ended up getting a kit later. So I guess they did actually have extras. They just had to restock them. So as far as I know, everyone got a competitor's kit, no matter when you showed up. And you could have just showed up at 5 or 6 o'clock, not really waited in line, and got a kit. But obviously, I think all of us were a lot of us were scarred after last year, where they ran out of T-shirts and promo packs, and decided to show up a little earlier just to make sure that we didn't miss out on that prizing.
Last two things I want to mention on this topic is one, the line was like the location was a little weird because it wasn't at the convention center, it was at the hotel, and it was a bit harder to find as somebody who got there early-ish. I feel like if you got there later, the line was probably just like so everywhere that you just knew like, oh, there's a lot of people here, I'll just head to the back. It ended up in a parking lot eventually, which I thought was beautiful because we were like in a parking lot in Japan, you know, nothing's changed. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was the actual contents of the bags. It definitely seems like they slimmed it down a little bit. They gave us this pin binder. I actually have mine like
I can go grab
behind
mine
me, but yeah, you can show off yours, Adi. But like the pin binder, I don't know. That's a big thumbs down for me. Like it's cute, I guess, but what am I doing with a pin binder? Meanwhile, they cut out a lot of other items that were like mainstays. I'm trying to remember what were some of the main things, but
it's like they always give you one sort of like cool thing that is very regional, right? Like in Japan we got the ramen bowl, stuff like that. I think usually we got a water bottle. I know they had a water bottle in the shop.
I think the water bottle, that's one of the things, yeah, that's gone.
We haven't gotten a water bottle, I think, since 2019. But
really? Oh, okay.
But yeah, like I love the water bottle. It was super useful. I still use my 2019 one. And so yeah, I'm really sad they stopped doing that because I went to the store before I went to I went to the Pokemon Center. We can talk about that in a little bit. Before we before I went
Switch
to line.
case.
Yeah, the Switch case. They had a Switch case and they had a water bottle in the store, and I was like, I don't want to buy these before I get my kit. What if they're in the kit? And they weren't, and I was really disappointed because the Switch case is always the nicest thing that they give out in the kit.
It definitely seems like a symptom of them preparing for there being a lot of people, and they didn't know if they were going to be able to like produce that much stuff. Like honestly, I would not be surprised if immediately next year we go back to the same amount of stuff you get in the Worlds kit because it's a lot smaller of a Worlds, and they're just like okay with it again. But for this one, they skimped out a little bit because there was a lot of people, I guess.
Also, the hat is the ugliest hat I've seen in my life.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Like usually at Worlds, you see a lot of people wearing the Worlds hat. I did not see a single person wearing the Worlds hat at Worlds.
I still saw plenty.
And then the other thing that I was annoyed about is I really like the sleeves. I play Yu-Gi-Oh! I like trading card games. They only gave us one pack of sleeves. They normally give us two, which also sucked. Those, first off, if you're selling your kit, those are worth a lot. They're like $40 a pop. So that's like immediate value removed. But also, they're nice sleeves. They look really cool. And now you can't like you play a card game. You know you need to replace your sleeves if you use them. And having only one pack means that you can't really use them anymore because they're just gonna run out. You're gonna need to replace them, and they're really expensive. So yeah, also very frustrated about that. And I think that was also just like we have too many people. We need to do these at one per person instead of per person like they normally do.
Yeah. Sad that that's how it shook out, unfortunately. But yeah, other than that though, any other things about like the bags and check-in that we need to mention? You guys, that any stories that you had from that, or should we go ahead and move on to talking about the opening ceremony?
Yeah, no, I was just saying like it was frustrating. Like me getting at 11, I left around like 2ish. And yeah, I think a lot of the people there, like the reason the line was so big is a lot of people knew from like last year that there were things that they didn't get, or like they didn't get the right size shirts because the shirt sizes were running out, and so just fear of like not getting all of the items.
Right.
And then I think that also lines up with how you said they reduced the items in those competitor kits, because I feel like they thought they wouldn't be able to restock them, and what they already had, I feel like they weren't able to restock that towards the end of the day. So it just seems
Mhm.
like issues just across that, and even later on at the Pokemon Center as well. Like the restocking effort wasn't great.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess we should mention that now really quick because that I didn't include in the notes. But the Pokemon Center, I showed up on Wednesday, the day I landed at like 4 p.m. and the store could not be more barren. Like it was just
Hmm.
empty shelves, empty shelves, empty shelves. I'm not somebody who goes to Worlds to buy things to flip, even like the one-ofs, like I don't know, I'm not really trying to like make a big profit off of Worlds. I don't
Hmm.
want to. I don't have a third suitcase that I'm fitting everything else in. But I would, if I saw something cool, I'd probably get it. If I saw something, and unfortunately, when we went there, like I went there with like ESM, and he and I were just like at the back of the store very quickly because it was like there was nothing to look at. There was just the most basic stuff that we weren't interested in, or empty shelves.
Hmm.
People went
Yeah.
crazy on the store this year, and
Yeah.
they weren't doing a great job of like restocking it as they went.
Hmm.
And
Agreed.
normally what they do is they restock at the beginning of each day. But yeah, I think the frustration on Wednesday was that content creators got first access. And I don't want to call anyone out. I'm just scrolling through Twitter, right? So I'm not trying to yell at anyone in particular. But you could see that a lot of content creators bought a lot of the cool stuff. Makes sense. Who would just
Yeah.
like we all wanted to buy the cool stuff. And they also, I know I've seen a lot of people raffling them off and stuff like that. So they weren't necessarily buying it for themselves. And again, that is the point. Like they are there to advertise Pokemon. They need to do something to get retweets, to get people watching their videos about the Pokemon World Championships, and that's how they do it. And that is what Pokemon wants. That's why they invited them there in the first place. But it means that if you showed up on Wednesday, the stores was empty, like you talked about. And even on Thursday, I got there Thursday at noon. They had when everyone was in line to check in. And first off, thankfully, I did not have to wait in line at all. We just walked straight in. I saw the next day there was like an hour-long line. I think Wednesday there was a 4-hour-long line, is what Kevin Swastik told me for him. But yeah, like we just walked right in, and there was most of the stuff there. But the main things that they were missing, I think everyone wanted the ukulele, and that was just gone. A lot of the really cool like Munchlax stuff was gone. I think everyone loved the Munchlax. And I think they were out of a lot of the skateboards as well. And they definitely ran out of the skateboards, all the skateboards later on as well, I think, by the end of it. So those are some of the things that they were just ran out of that was really disappointing. Because, yeah, like people traveled. Some people travel there just to go to the Pokemon Center, right? Like this is a celebration.
Yeah.
It really sucks
Yeah.
that there's a lot of people who go there to prioritize going to the Pokemon Center and trying to make money on the Pokemon Center, the content creators, stuff like that. Really, I mean, again, not again. I'm less upset the content creators, more upset at the scalpers. But it really does suck that
Mhm.
normal people, competitors who go there, who are like the reason that we're here in the first place, don't really get a crack at getting on any of the cool stuff.
Yeah. I will
Mhm.
just add, it's kind of shocking. Like they did the ukuleles and the skateboards, they did that one per reservation, not one per person, and they still ran out. So that's also a production thing too. Like and I don't know how they enforced it either. I don't know if they enforced it, but when I went, they told us it's one per reservation. So I
Mhm.
went with another person, and so it would have only been other person being able to get it. So, and even with
Right.
that, they ran out. So it was a bit like, wow, like I don't think they had enough to go around.
Even the
Mhm.
backpacks too, like the backpacks were gone like immediately.
Hmm.
Had some friends that like wanted to at least get one backpack, but then there's no shot. Like there was no way. All sold out.
Hmm.
Yeah. That is something that So, and I guess on that note, I had the chance to talk to some of the staff who organized Worlds, and afterwards, and they were asking for feedback from players, and I think that I mentioned the Pokemon Center and waiting in line, and they said yes, like every single person has mentioned that. We know that we need to do better in that. We know that people are disappointed. That is the top of our priority for next year's World. So I really, really hope that that gets figured out. I don't know if there's like a very clean solution to it, but with the circuit changes that we're going to talk about at the end of this episode, you can see that I think they really are listening, and I think they really are trying to do better by competitors and by attendees. And so I am optimistic that this is something that they are going to continue to improve upon. As even as like this kind of sucked, but this was still an improvement on Japan, right? And so gradual improvement is still.
Mhm.
Um,
With that though, let's go ahead and talk about the Friday opening ceremony before we get to talking about the tournament. So Friday they don't. I swear, in some of the years, it hasn't been. It's been a couple years. They've announced some stuff. Like it was Friday at one of the worlds where they announced like Fred Brawler, which wasn't even the final evolution, but they showed it beating up all of Chalk. I think so. I guess it was like 2017 or 2016 worlds. But yeah, they stopped doing that, but they do like the performances and otherwise, I guess I don't know what are the other noteworthy things about the opening ceremony. I think it's just the performance.
pretty much.
Yeah, I think so.
Right? Like
Yeah, but the performance was cool.
I don't know. Okay. Here's the thing. They always do a really cool job of taking sort of like local culture and putting it into the performance. We saw the drum ceremony in Yokohama. We saw the second line at New Orleans. I really like that. The hey, let's take like native Hawaiian ceremonies and make it about Pokemon. Kind of rub me the wrong way. I don't know.
That's fair.
That I didn't really like the way they did that. I think that the traditional Hawaiian dance was cool. I like that they incorporated that. I didn't like how they made it about Pokemon, even though it's obviously the Pokemon tournament. It just felt, yeah, I don't know. I just
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd agree. Like, there's ways to respect the culture. You don't even have to necessarily make it about Pokemon. You can just make it about the location that you're doing it, just as a
Agree.
thank you, just as a thank you for being good hosts. Like, so it seemed a bit unnecessary. Yeah.
hey,
Um,
tell this native Hawaiian story, but put some Pokemon in it. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that is like a little. No, that part's a little cringe. They had like crazy pyrotechnics for the stage this year. I don't know if you got to experience this or not when you played on stage, NJ, but did you ever like feel the fire? I remember feeling the fire during the opening ceremony. Did they like blast the fire at all while you were up there or no?
I'm not even gonna lie. I wasn't even focused on that. Like, it was
Oh,
like
for sure.
that match was like, because it was like I was just trying not to make mistakes because it was like the winning in for money, and I was just like just
Got
dialed
locked
in.
in.
I was just ignoring like everything about it. But I will say like I don't think there was any. I didn't notice any fire, but it
Yeah.
did definitely feel warmer on the stage just because of the lights and everything. It felt like
Well,
even
yeah.
worse in the competitor area. Yeah.
I remember when they first blasted the fire during the opening ceremony. I can't remember who I was standing with, but we felt like the blast of heat come from the stage, and I was not that close to the stage. So I was just curious, like what it was like for people on stage if they like when they did it. So I know they did some of that during like the finals. I don't remember if they did it
Yeah.
during like some of the cut matches. Anyways, um, yeah, I think we'll probably have more to say about the closing ceremony. So at this point, I guess let's talk about the tournament. You know,
yes.
we played.
Do we want to
Go
talk about the
ahead.
closing ceremony and then just kind of focus on Pokemon after that?
Sure. Yeah, 'cause there's not a lot to the ceremony, closing ceremony. Sure,
Yeah.
we could jump ahead to that. I do have a tweet for that shows the announcement. Um, so yeah, before we launch into talking about the results of Worlds and stuff, let's talk about the closing ceremony. Um, and we didn't get a lot. If you're into the other games, if you have a more diverse Pokemon palette, there was more stuff. Unite got a couple of characters announced. TCG is getting some new types of cards. There's Pokemon Pocket coming out, and Go is getting more Pekko. That was a little weird. I was like, that's a lot for just one Pokemon. Anyways, um, and then we were all waiting for the video game one. Are we getting one thing, two things? I remember a lot of people were saying like maybe they'll do ZA and announce where the regionals are coming, or like the next gen. No, that's just it. That's just not. There's nothing.
Yeah, it was a bit odd.
It was
Kind of put a damper on it. Kind of put a damper on the closing ceremonies for a lot of us. We were just sitting there. It's like, we're all trying to get excited, and it just never happened, and it's kind of deflating, honestly.
It was so sad. Like, I was hoping for like a morsel of anything. Like, even if it was just ZA, I would have taken it. Like even if ZA is going to be like, kind of like Legends Arceus, not any direct ties to video game, but the Pokemon will come over eventually. I'd take it. I played Legends Arceus and I had fun with it, but they didn't want to give us even the smallest of things. So then like, yeah, I can't remember who said when the announcement came, but they were like, and that's it. That's it for the announcements today. I was like, that's it. There's nothing.
They said in the opening ceremony there would be special news about Pokemon games. And of course that means the Pokemon games that we were all waiting for, and the Pokemon games that we're all here for, the trading card game app. Like, I guess that's a Pokemon game, right? But like,
yeah, it's a video game in a way.
I don't know, man. Okay. So here's the thing. I was talking to some people. I don't know if we have a date for Pokemon ZA's release. I really thought we would get a ZA trailer. I think that a lot of the hype pointed towards a ZA trailer. But also I'm really excited for ZA, so I'm a little biased there. And I think that this means that it's probably coming out later than we thought. We knew it was going to be like relatively early 2025, Q1 or Q2 2025 is what most people think. Now I think that means that they are actually like further behind than we want them to be. It's probably going to be later in 2025, maybe Q2 or Q3, because otherwise they would have started building hype, and this would be the perfect place to start building hype for ZA. So if there's one thing that I'd take away from this, the lack of a trailer means that ZA is coming out later in next year.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's probably a good thing, right? Like we want them to take more time to, develop the game. Hopefully that it's, less glitchy than, Scarlet and Violet when it first came out. So like I can see the, frustration from not having any news, but I can also understand it from a developer standpoint. Like they might need more time.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned you brought it back to Scarlet and Violet, because the lack of like anything it's starting to make a lot of people wonder, is next year's Worlds not the last Worlds on Scarlet and Violet? Like we've done
True.
3 Worlds per generation, like game, whatever. We went from Sun and Moon to Ultra Sun and Moon or whatever, and we played on X and Y and ORAS back in the day. But ultimately, the generations they've stopped making these extra versions and stuff, or like the throwback games are now like different, like BDSP and Legends Arceus. So we're really only getting one core game per gen, and we were playing 3 Worlds on that. And the way that it's looking, the way that it's pacing, with Regulation H coming up, and then like the return to Reg G, I don't know. There's a lot of weird things that are almost starting to add up, and it's like, are we going to be playing on Scarlet and Violet in 2026? I think it seems a lot more possible now. Not something I was even considering going into this Worlds, but leaving this Worlds, I feel like it's more likely than not.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it.
And so I guess the other thing that they did announce is that they announced the Worlds locations. And so we now know that Worlds next year, we already knew that San Francisco was going to be hosting Worlds 2026, because I believe the convention center have posted the dates on their website. And so I don't think they were intending to reveal that here, but I think they kind of had their hand forced, right? But
hilariously,
of course, they always reveal where Worlds is next year at the World Championships, and this year we find out that it is going to be in Anaheim, California. Wait, where's Gavin's tweet? I should have pulled that one up. Gavin basically complained that they used a bunch of promo imaging from Los Angeles, and then they said it was Anaheim, which is very different. It's not the same. It is far away. If you've been to Anaheim, I've had the misfortune of going to Anaheim, not for a regional. I know some people. I know Alex. I think you were at Worlds Anaheim. Is that right?
I've been to both of these Worlds, and so I've already talked about this with friends a lot. But both of these Worlds, like, they're fine locations, I guess, but for me, they're just business. I've been to these cities before. I don't think there's like a ton more touring that I could do. Like if I went back to, Japan Worlds, I of course would have a lot more like fun stuff that I want to do. Going back to Anaheim or San Francisco, I feel like I'm just booking the minimum amount of days. I'm there to play Pokemon, like, all right. I mean, on the bright side, this is probably the Worlds that I could be the most focused for, like I'm not spending as much time trying to have fun and enjoy and appreciate the vacation. I'm there just for Pokemon. On the downside, I'm just there for Pokemon.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I'd say as a sorry.
Go ahead.
I'd say
Go
as a West Coaster, like it's nice for travel if I decide
Yeah.
to go for it. But on the other hand, like it's kind of like you go London, you go Yokohama, and then you go Honolulu, and then it feels like a downgrade to go to Anaheim, right? So I'm in the same boat. Like, yes, from a travel perspective, it's a short flight for myself, and I'm sure for you as well.
Yep.
But like from like getting you excited to actually go there, it's not so much.
Yeah, I see people in the chat talking about how it's like, West Coast back to back or just like California specifically back to back, and not very diverse. The answer to that one is probably convenience for Japan and stuff like that. I think that's largely what's happening there, which means it's the opposite for Europe, right? The West Coast is about as bad as you can get for Europe. But yeah, I think they usually like to do it in the US. Like I think they had their fun years with Japan and London, but we've seen that it's like in NA every other year besides that, and largely West Coast. They've done Hawaii a couple of years, and they've done um, San Fran and Anaheim before as well. They just, I think it's a convenience factor for TPC is probably the main factor here. I don't know. That's just my guess, though. I'm no expert.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much the whole dock situation in Japan, and the fact that we had such low attendance at regionals, the first couple regionals of the year after that played into it, because yeah, they do have to ship all the stuff to the next location, and that might have contributed to why we had such a small attendance at Pittsburgh when it capped so quickly at the start of this season. So yeah, I can see that also playing part of it, where the logistics is kind of a pain in the butt for an American-based company to host events in Japan or in Europe and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gavin pointed this out on Twitter. Anaheim is over here. This is Los Angeles. This is the beach that they showed in the image. They exclusively used promo from not Anaheim to advertise Anaheim Worlds, which is they know how no one wants to go to Anaheim. The only thing in Anaheim is Disney. I mean, I can't, dude.
And I will not be going to Disney. I'm sorry. So yes, very much a show up, play Pokemon, go home regional or Worlds. Sorry, not a regional.
And then the last thing I want to say is that we're gonna talk about regional locations and circuit structure in a little bit. This is very exciting. But if you want people to go to your regionals, if you want people to play Pokemon at Play Pokemon, you should. Why aren't you revealing this at the World Championships when there's like 30,000 people watching? I mean, come on. You don't put it in the games. At least put so many people just don't know about these regionals until they happen. Why can't you just, if you put this on, if you said the last announcement was we are revealing the locations for all of our regional level tournaments for the next season, or some of the regional level tournaments in the next season, and you post this on screen, people will show up. People will know about them. People will be excited for it. More people will try to qualify for Worlds. People will show up to events, and more people will buy your stuff. Like, I don't know why this is not up there, and they reveal it 3 days later.
I have a pretty good anecdote related to this, Adi. I was on the last day getting Malasadas, and at the place, some random person says to me, like, hey, were you guys also here for Pokemon? And we're like, yeah, we're here for the World Championships. And then they were like, this is like my first time attending one of these things. And then they were like, where are you from? And I was just like, oh, Seattle. And then they were like, we're from Boston. And then we're like, oh, if you want to keep with it, Baltimore is having a regional soon. And they were just like, oh, like, I didn't even know that. That's like pretty close. And yeah, they just were completely like, unaware that there was going to be like a regional, like a major tournament near them soon. And then they were like, all right, well, I guess I'll go look into it, and stuff like that. But, it's just like, people really don't know about this, even if they know about Worlds, So it would be cool if they plugged it a little bit better. I really wish we got the full regional schedule going into the season, but I guess we'll keep getting drip fed it. Anyways, we'll definitely talk about more of the 2025 stuff at the end. Let's go ahead and wrap up this Worlds though by talking about how it actually shook out. You know, we have some of the top finishers here. Um, you know, two of the best Canadians. Not quite the best Diego. I'm sorry, I did not know Diego was going to be a very strong name at this Worlds. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, let's start with. Go ahead, Adi.
Oh, I was gonna say, while we have you guys on, I think you guys probably want to talk about your team, and we'll get to or unless Alex, unless you want to do it the other way around.
No, we can do that. We can start with that. Let's start with NJ then. NJ, you got top 8 with your Cali Ice team. And it's got Regieleki, Landorus. Other than that, you know, I mean, like it's definitely got some standout items, but you know, those Pokemon are a little lesser used. Regieleki most of all. Why don't you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, so I've kind of been on this team. I think a lot of people seen that I was working on it with Beck and with Bars. But going into this tournament, I made a lot of changes. I kept them off ladder just because I kept playing with the older version of the team, and it still, you know, did keep losing to some of the matchups that I was a bit worried about. But I made quite a few EV adjustments going into the tournament. Didn't have a lot of time to test it. For example, the Urshifu being Terra Normal. Mystic Water, that was like a last minute change I made. It was a Salt Vest for a long time. Going safety goggles, Terra Steel on the Furgraph. Actually, it didn't come up, but it's actually for your team, Alex, because like I had been
Let's
playing
go.
Ursaluna so much, and I was like, you know, I need to eat like a Terra Normal Hyper Voice into Glacial Lance. If I have to reverse Trick Room or hit like Cali Ice with a foul play, like Terra Steel makes a lot of sense. Never came up in the tournament, but again, was a change I made. I decided to run Modest for a graph for this tournament as well. Because I was looking at a lot of Cali Ice teams, and I spoke with a lot of players that were running Cali Ice, and they were like, Cali Shadow with Clefairy and Amoonguss, particularly, was a matchup that like a lot of Cali Ice teams could never solve. And so the way I solved it was with, you know, Modest Psychic and Terra Electric Regieleki. You can pretty much almost always KO Amoonguss because they're Terra Water half the time, so it's pinned with Psychic and Thunderbolt. And Clefairies are usually running Bold, very defensive. They're usually also just dropped a Terra Electric Thunderbolt into a Psychic, and that came up actually a couple of times in my run, so I was really happy with that change. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward, right? It looks to combine electric, ice, and ground coverage, and kind of just establish pins really quickly. And yeah, it ended up doing exactly what it needed to do. I played a disproportionate amount of Calyrex Ice, and I think this team really can set the tempo in the mirror. And it did that. I was able to play with a lot of control in those matchups. And yeah, one other thing I will say, I also sped the Calyrex Ice up. I was hitting 88 speed, so around 140 EVs. So it was funny enough. It wasn't even funny enough. It wasn't even the fastest Cali Ice in top 8. I think Diego was running max speed because he's running in prison, so he never wants to. I played him a couple times on that, and he outsped me, and I was just like, you know, like wow. So I'm not even the fastest Cali Ice in top 8. But yeah, no, it's a really fast Calyrex Ice. Combos really nicely with Electro Web, and yeah, I mean, I'm really happy with how the team performed overall. There was a lot of changes. And so anyone looking at the older version or look at the rental code that I had up from a couple months ago, it's completely kind of changed variant from that. Yeah.
By the way, if you're in chat and you want to fire off questions for any of the people who are on stream, but now's a good time to do it. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the fast ice horse also gets to use Electro Web, which is really cool. Not something that a lot of people will expect it to be able to take advantage of. And the team doesn't have to go into Trick Room at all, like a lot of Cali Ice teams seem to. You've got a lot of the fast guys. You got the double sash guys as well with Sturdy, Rock Pond, and Aleki, meaning that you're very good at like damage trading and stuff. They're always going to take a couple of hits to get rid of your Pokemon, and that can be pretty problematic when there are Pokemon that can hit pretty hard, like Ogerpon and Aleki. So, definitely a good team for playing the matchups like Cali Ice it approaches Kali Ice very differently than your
Mhm,
standard builds, and I think that might mess with people's counterplay, which is really cool.
mhm.
Somebody said you were psychic over psychic noise. Was that specifically to deal with the like Clefairy, or could you afford to run noise?
I didn't want to run Psychic Noise just because the damage drop off was in my calcs. It made a lot of those knockouts that you were taking with Psychic rolls. Um,
Hmm.
and so I know some people also ran Twin Beam at the tournament, trying to snipe Focus Sash Ursh, but I think Psychic is the most consistent option. And when you're playing a tournament like Worlds, it's better to go for the consistency than it is to maybe just go for some of that utility with reduced power. So I felt like Psychic. I clicked it quite a lot. It picked up a lot of knockouts. It did a considerable amount of damage, whereas I think Psychic Noise, while nice, it doesn't exactly solve your Kali Shadow matchup either. Like because you're doing less damage in the Clef, and sometimes if they're running Covert Cloak, it's not even like you're shutting down Draining Kiss or anything else.
Hmm.
So in a lot of my testing, I was like, well, like yeah, you can deal with hands, but Iron Hands is on Miraidon half the time, and you don't really want to be bringing Friggraff to that matchup. You're going to be able to deal with it using Landorus. So I kind of just went through that process of elimination. I'm like, yeah, Psychic just makes the most sense for me.
I also had Psychic on my Giraffe Kali Ice
Hmm.
team, and I feel like the main reason that I could explain it, I didn't have like anti-Amoonguss Clefairy things in mind, but it mainly just it KO'd Urshifu Water, the Sash
Yeah.
ones from a like much higher range. You know, at the
Yes.
end of the day, it's not like about one-shotting it with Twin Beam or not, or like just like Glacial Lance plus Psychic was more consistently getting me the KO
Yeah.
against Urshifu than
Yeah.
Psychic Noise plus Glacial Lance. And so, yeah, just being able to KO Urshifu after just a little bit of chip, instead of needing a bit more, was very helpful. On top of it, doing a
Hmm.
lot more damage to Pokemon like Amoonguss, even Iron Hands. Like you
Yeah.
turn off the Drain Punch with Psychic Noise, but if that Iron Hands lives on 1 HP and gets off a Electric Terrain Wild Charge, that could also be problematic. So,
Yeah.
uh, or right, whatever, just another attack. Psychic will get
Hmm.
the KO from further out. So you can't
Exactly.
underestimate base power, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
saw how
Exactly.
common low kick was in Iron Hands. That's really good against a lot of these Pokemon. So yeah, it's like not even
Hmm.
turning it off all that much. Um, yeah, and then
Hmm.
on our team, Alex and my team, we also found that Psychic does more into Amoonguss, which means that you could get your Surging Strikes plus Psychic pin off a little more effectively against a lot of teams. And you saying that you're
Hmm.
modest and being Mystic Water, I think that you probably always pick up Amoonguss. They can't even switch into that, whereas they would lip ours
Yeah.
with a little bit.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was running the bold set like for forever, and it's nice, but like if you need to take a hit, you can use a defensive Terra. Like Friggraff shouldn't be tearing most games anyway, so you can just use the Terra for a specific matchup defensively, and then afford to run the rest of the EVs and more offense. I thought that was like a more effective and more efficient use of like its resources. And
Hmm.
then the only other change I made is I ran Timid Land. I was seeing an uptick in those Focus Sash, Jolly, Stellar Terra Urshifu, and I was just getting sniped by Surging turn one, and I was like, yeah, I can't like, and speed, honestly, like speed is probably the most important stat in the game, so you can never have enough. And that's the only other change I made. I just sped everything up, and for the
Hmm.
most part, that was the best changes I think I made to the team.
Yeah,
Right.
sometimes speed is the best defense. KO them
Hmm.
before they hit you.
Yeah.
Um, Now, before we talk about that one too much, let's actually jump over to Diego's team. Diego, you managed to make it to top 16 with a Zamazenta team. Why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it might look a bit familiar, but it's essentially ESM's Zamazenta team. I'm not a team builder myself, so I just essentially what I usually do is just take teams that have done really well, and adapt them to my playstyle. Um, he came in 17th at NAIC. MDB won Stockholm with it. I figured it might be a pretty good call for Worlds. Um, My main issue with the Galarian Moltres version, I think, was the rise in Miraidon. Um, I was actually like team building with a friend with Wraith, and like we kept coming into the same issue. Like we keep getting cooked by Miraidon Hearthlane, Miraidon Entei, etc. We need like a good ground Pokemon to sort of cover the fairy ground pin. Because Miraidon would either like lock into Electro Drift, then you get knocked out by Landorus, or you can't touch Landorus. If they lock into Draco Meteor, then Fluttermane can sort of knock it out 1v1. So that was essentially the team. Just really liked the team. I did pretty well with it at locals. I tried like Iron Moth with Zamazenta. You could do like Sludge Wave shenanigans, but that didn't work. So I just ended up coming back with Landers to switch out the Galarian Moltres.
Hmm.
EVs are pretty like standard, like Latios and Tyranitar, just max speed, max attack. Landorus, I just used Wolfie's spread. Like if it works, it works, right? So I think it lived like a Surging Strikes, non-Terra
Okay.
watered. It's faster than Adamant 252, 252 Ursh. And then Rillaboom, I just used MDB had like a Zamazenta Ladder Legends YouTube series. I just took his spreads. They were pretty good. Rillaboom was really fast. I could like always guarantee being faster than Raging Bolt because I think a lot of them were just modest 252, 252. I think they would hit 127. So my Rillaboom would always guarantee to be faster. Um, and then Zamazenta, we almost went like max defense. I think that caught off um like people off guard because they're either EVing for the inpush 156 for the one speed bump,
Hmm.
defense bump. But then if you like hit the last bump, it kind of like throws off their calcs a bit. And
Hmm.
then Flutter, I went mainly bulky so I could live a Glacial Lance at least once. Um, and then I could live Surging Strikes if there were Scarf. So I was like pretty confident in the team. Um, One thing I did click a lot this like over this weekend was Thunderwave. I
Let's
know people
go.
might yeah. So Thunderwave, honestly, it was the greatest move. I know it probably did not feel that great to play against. 'Cause but
Why would you want your opponent to have fun? You don't need to feel bad about this, Diego.
yeah.
This is what you play the game to do.
But essentially, if I was to get a Thunderwave off, the longer the match, would end up going, I'm more likely, or you're more likely to not move.
Hmm.
And so I face like pretty good opponents. Their skill level might be better than me, but if you don't like hit one turn, then I get to like capitalize off of that. And then I also found sometimes that people would tilt a bit. They're like, shoot, like you got paralyzed, so that would also like accelerate making mistakes, things like that. So Thunderwave, great move. I tried to conserve Fluttermane as much as possible. um I came into some situations, you Thunderwave, Rock Slide, I get the flinch, you get the para, it's game winning, right? So that's
Right.
essentially the team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I want to give you more credit than you're giving yourself when you said that you're not really like a team builder. You definitely made some like edits, changes, whether it was EV spreads or putting on a different Pokemon. The Latios also you ended up going with like Tailwind. There's like enough changes around here where you made it your own. You made it lean into the new metagame that was coming about between NAIC and Worlds, and I also think a lot of people don't realize that that's just like what the process looks like. If like what you don't need to like start every team from scratch. You don't need every team to be like this like putty that you formed yourself. It can be very much inspired by something else that you've seen. Um, a lot of people don't realize that, and then like, reusing spreads from other teams as well. Like
Yeah,
sometimes sometimes they're doing something that you find valuable, and so that's just the best answer. Or sometimes it's just about like familiarity, like going into you played with that spread enough times that you know what it's doing in every situation, and that's like another like really valuable thing to have going into the world championships is to never be like maybe you created this perfect EV spread that lives some crazy calc, but then you get into a different situation, you're like, do I live this? Do I get this KO? that's where it's like, it's important to actually know your spread inside and out. And so just sticking with what you know, or what works is totally, totally valid.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So go ahead, Adi.
On the
Seriously?
T-Wave topic, because I love
Oh
talking about
yes.
hacks, man. I think and not just and again, you said it, like, it's over the course of a long game, like, you will get paras, right? If you T-Wave there is Zamazenta turn 1 and you're playing a 12 turn game where the Zam sits on the field the entire game, like, it's gonna get parried 3 times, right? Like, that's just how
Yeah,
math works
exactly.
out. And with all of these restricteds, like, first off, and we found this out in Series 8, and we especially saw it at NAIC this year with the way Aurelian did so well. T-Wave is really, really good at single restricted formats because so much of the power is concentrated in your restricted, and so many teams are trying to protect the castle, so much of your damage has to come from your restricted. Losing 1 or 2 turns on that Pokemon is game changing. And so, yeah, I think that in any single restricted format, if you can use T-Wave against a lot of teams, especially teams like Combine Terapagos that are trying to sit on the field for 12 turns, Combine Kyogre, which is getting more common, Zamazenta, right? Like, all these restricted that are really just trying to sit on the field, that like being fast, but don't really have Tricker Mode necessarily. I think that, yeah, T-Wave is just really, really strong, and I'm not surprised at all to see it do well. And like you said, T-Wave with a Rock Slide, I mean, you are just getting yourself so many chances for your opponent to, not get to play the game.
Yeah, totally. And also, like, the speed control factor came in pretty significantly sometimes. So I could, like, T-Wave, Cali Shadow, and then Woodhammer next turn, or the same turn, because I'd be faster anyways. Um, that came up, constantly throughout the run. The other thing too is, like, I'm sort of glad that they nerfed it, like, from 100 accuracy to 90. I think I only missed one this entire tournament, but that was because, like, it was in a game-winning situation. But I only clicked it when I had to, and if also my opponents kept letting me click Thunderwave. If you're not knocking out Fluttermane ASAP, I'm just gonna keep spreading Thunderwaves and then continue attacking with Zamazenta or my other mon. So it's a good
Mhm.
move. Can be frustrating to play against. I'm sorry to all my opponents, but
Don't
yeah.
be. Don't
My
be sorry.
my
They should be sorry they didn't stop you.
Fair
uh,
enough. Fair enough.
my one other Diego story is that I think the first time we met, I think this might have been your first regional, was Toronto 2019. Was that your first event?
No, but
I
let's
think
pretend it was.
Okay, I think that was the first time we met. And I remember you
Yeah.
got 9th place with Jamie Boyd's team. And so after that and after this, I am now convinced that you find the weirdest looking team in the format and just get really, really good at it.
Hell yeah.
we got
The
a
other
couple.
thing too is, like,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say we have some questions in
The other,
chat, but go ahead.
oh yeah, sure. The other thing too that I found, like, it's people kept, like, sleeping on Zamazenta. Like, I just keep hearing, like, on videos on Twitter, etc. Like, oh, top 3 restrictions are Shadow Rider, Ice Rider, and Miraidon. And I think a lot of people, did not prepare enough for Zamazenta. So coming into the tournament, I felt pretty confident I could just, body press, KO all the instants, do a lot of damage to, like, pretty much every restricted on the field. So yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Uh,
it always feels good going in thinking that people are disrespecting your team more and more. You're just like, yes, please go ahead. Um,
mhm.
with that though, yeah, we had 2 questions in chat really quick that are honestly somewhat tied together. Because I was looking at your schedule and you lost in top 16 to Miraidon. Somebody asked, how was the matchup in top 16? And somebody else asked, how was the Miraidon matchup?
Okay. So I'll start with the top 16, but I want to say this was pretty unconventional team. It was Miraidon Dondozo, Choice Band Dragonite, and then I think it's Sash Chiyu, and then Choice Specs Goldengo. So awful matchup. Like, Dondozo is probably the worst team to face against with Zamazenta. Um, Also, their I think their Miraidon was like AV, so it was, like, very bulky. It was slower than my Zamazenta. Their Dragonite was slower than Tyranitar. Um, it was just pretty awful to go up against because my game plan was essentially Thunderwave the Dondozo turn 1, and then try to get enough special defense drops with Luster Purge. But they called out my Terra on Latios when I was expecting them to order up, and I Terra stealed, but then they wave crash, and then I lost Latios like turn two. So that was usually my game plan. Thinking about it now, I think I probably should have forced the Grass Terra on Dondozo, and then try to knock out with Sludge Bomb on Landorus. I think that's how I'd probably adapt. Um,
This team is
so
insane. This is just a
it's
Reg C team with
insane.
Miraidon. Like,
It's
Assault Vest
insane.
Miraidon of all things. Like, this is just...
It was so bulky. I tried to like Moonblast knockoff, did not KO. Lived on one. I was like, okay, it's over.
Then they took the Chen Pao and made it a Miraidon and said, okay, we're good.
Oh, also, somebody pointed it out in chat. I didn't realize that you helped contribute to the 08. Congrats to
Oh,
Eric. A lot of people were talking about it.
I do want to talk about Eric because he is one of my friends actually. So
Yeah.
we matched up round two, and we were like so sad because like we're good friends. We were hanging out pretty much the whole weekend. Um, But well, like honestly, Eric was there for me, like supporting me the entire day one, the entire day two. He even asked me like if he, if he could get me some food. I'm like, no, like I'm good, I'm good, thanks. But he was like updating the rest of Team Canada on how I was doing, how Kylan was doing, on how NJ was doing in the tournament. So he was probably the biggest supporter. And then he just decided to just go 08. He's like, I'm gonna try my hardest to lose all my matches, and he made it. He missed the round by I think to get the
Yep.
08.
Incredible feat, honestly.
Yeah, he was really happy with it. We were hanging out after day one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess with that, let's talk about the other people who maybe did a little better. I don't know. But yeah, so the world champion is Lucas Arabelli. You might know him, Siri VGC, and he used
No,
Miraidon.
not that. What was that? Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
And yeah, he used Miraidon. And so I don't know. This is a team that we've seen around. I think they call it Arubega Miraidon. Is that because the person who made it is named Arubega? Okay.
Yeah.
And made some small changes to it, and I think he posted the pace as well, so I can pull that up. But yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of people, myself included, thought that the World Championships, we have 2.5 months. This is a pretty dynamic format. It's been changing a lot, and it's won by a team that we've seen before. So yeah, did that surprise you? And what did you guys think of the team that won?
Yeah, I think honestly, like going into the tournament, I feel like a lot of people's pick was either Miraidon or Cali Shadow. But yeah, I think playing against the Miraidon teams, like even when I played against my top four opponent was running pretty much the same team. Even though I felt like I had a lot of tools against Miraidon, you're never truly safe against it just because of how fast it can, output damage. And you know, even what I felt like if you have a stable line into it, something like this can make so many small adjustments on the fly. It's so flexible that it poses like not just from a damage perspective like issues. It also just poses a lot of issues from trying to get the jump on it at team preview and trying to make your own adjustments into it. So it's a really good team. Yeah, I can like it winning. It's not a surprise to me at all. It was like a nightmare to play against it. Like I'm surprised like I managed to get the jump on it a couple of times, but uh, having like that prep time as well, he had like a data prep. I'm surprised that he did so well with it.
Yeah, Sea Dog, your comment in the chat is it depresses me. The low kick tech, like it makes Ice Rider teams just so miserable. They can like go for like helping hand low kicks. Some of them were terrifying and you just die. But like those low kicks can do so much damage to a lot of the restricted Pokemon in the format, as well as Iron Hands or even other Giraffe. There's a number of heavy Pokemon. I don't know if I would run low kick as my only attacking move. Looking at a certain former world champion, I guess fake out low kick, Swords Dance, Protect Iron Hands was a set that was used this weekend. But anyways, Yeah, this team, agreeing with NJ here, is that like you can do your best to invalidate it and still lose to it if they get all the calls right. They're kind of like, if they lead with Miraidon, they're threatening an Oko on just about every turn, into like almost everything that you can put out against it because of how much damage it can do. The only way to save yourself is to get the call right, or I guess have a Rillaboom. If you don't have a Rillaboom, though, you're probably gonna be, just trying to make trades, and if you don't trade better than them, they're gonna come out on top. And that, I think Luca showed that uh, he was super, super, super proficient with the team, knew it better than anybody, and that's why he was able to make it all the way to the top.
I mean, literally, he beat the mirror in top four. Sorry, and like this team really was everywhere in day two. There were 6 of them in day two. So yeah, not surprised to see it do well. I was surprised I was surprised to see it win, but I guess when you got 3 of them in top 8, it is top 24, 2 of them in top 4. It really just shows to show you it might actually just be the it probably was the best team going into this tournament, and yeah, I guess in that sense it's not too surprising, but yeah, I really thought that we'd see people like try harder to beat it, but also I lost to it, so I can't say that. I lost.
I played it round 1. I played it round 1 and lost to it 2-0, and then I played it again like in round 10 or something and beat it. But again, it depends on how the match goes. Like they always have an out. They always have options. They can always play better than you. We saw other people using versions very close to it, and this is kind of bringing us back to the top takes we did right before Worlds, Audi, where I was having us go back and analyze all the previous Worlds and look at, what won? Was it the call? Was it the play? Was it a player playing a known team super well, or was it somebody using something very different, to the best of their ability? And yeah, this was very much a won by the play. Luca knew Miraidon was the team that he was the most comfortable with, the team that was going to give him the best results, and it sure enough paid off. Um, Yuta's team is much closer to the call, I guess, in a sense. There's like some familiar Pokemon, but a lot of strange stuff going on this team. Why don't we go ahead and bounce over to talking about that one?
Well, so it is strange, but also, are these the same 6 Pokemon that got second at Japan Nationals?
I don't believe so. Yuta brought Iron Valiant to Japan Nationals, but got 17th.
Okay.
Notably.
So I think you're talking about Kawamu's team. I think he had a Raging Bolt, but it's a really, really similar.
There was a Cornerstone as well, I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Bolt Cornerstone instead of Amoonguss and... no, Landorus. There's no Landorus.
And I saw this team. I thought Iron Valiant was really cool, and I definitely tried this out, but this team was obviously optimized for closed team sheet. And I know if you watch Japan Nationals, I don't think he ever brought Iron Valiant to any of the open team sheet games. It doesn't have Wide Guard, which is like kind of the reason to run it, but it's so in closed team sheet, if people assume that you have Wide Guard, it's obviously a lot better. We see Utah using a very different Iron Valiant set despite running a lot of the same Pokemon. And this team looks a lot more optimized for open team sheet, and a lot more teched out. It has some things that in the West we don't really see much people using, like Clear Smog Amoonguss. And he got rewarded for a lot of these tech choices because people were not expecting to see that. And Dodozo was everywhere. So Clear Smog Amoonguss, really, really good meta call. I don't want to say single-handedly, but was a big part of I think I guess I should pull up the schedule, but I know that was a big part of why he beat Justin Knox in Top Cut. And I got to imagine that there were some other Dozos in the schedule. Maybe not. All right. But yeah, that was a really cool tech that we saw. And then the Valiant, we saw basically everything it could do in his dream sets, where coaching was so effective, Encore is such crazy pressure, Wide Guard is so good in this format, and Spirit Break into Miraidon means is doesn't actually KO it, but it does a lot, and it dropping the special attack of Miraidon and CSR before they can move is so strong. So yeah, it was just really cool to see Iron Valiant and this kind of weird Amoonguss set do super well.
And one of the Pokemon that you haven't put... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I can speak a bit about his team because we actually played round 1 of day 2. Yeah, his team it's not just like his team choices, the way he played he's just really aggressive with this type of team. Just you can notice the lack of protects on his team. The guy only has two, right? So he played so aggressively. I'd say even on turns where he didn't have to make reads, he was just going for like really big plays. Um, and his team was like really bulky. Like he won both of the games, but that was like the longest 2-0 I think I've ever played. Like he barely won both games on his Mons living on like maybe 5% or less. It was such a fine margin. So he did a really good job, I think, with his tech choices and just the way he was playing Iron Valiant. Like there was a lot of opportunities for him to encore my Mons, and he was just clicking coaching over and over again, going for a spirit break. He didn't click wide guard or encore at all, and there was opportunities where he could have blocked my glacial lances and things like that. And he did get burned on a couple plays. Like he had a really safe side pollen puff, and another play where he had a really safe rage powder, and he did, like decided not to go for it, and I caught his Cali Ice with an Aqua Jet. So, but I feel like overall though his play and his reads, like the ones he was going for, it was high risk, high reward. Like you can even see in his finals, like him going for the helping hand, Terra Ghost Sludge Bomb turn one. Like if that play works out, like we'd be calling him a genius, right? Like, but instead, like his opponent swaps out and doesn't commit the Terra Fairy. But like that play in his finals turn one was really indicative of how I feel like he played his whole tournament, just going for broke. And you wouldn't expect that when you read his team sheet. Like it feels like there are some more standard picks, but the way he played with them was really fascinating.
There's one Pokemon that we haven't talked a lot about, that Mon that went for broke on the first turn, Landorus. You both had Landorus, and Yuta also had Landorus. Although I think you both were the more conventional Life Orb set. Yuta ended up going with the Choice Scarf one, and it wasn't alone in that. I know Shilyang was running, and Shilyang's group was running a Scarf Landorus as well, but. I thought that was like pretty interesting and pretty noteworthy. Like there are some standout stuff here. Life Orb on the Pelipper, allowing it to do a lot more damage if it's in Trick Room or allowed to just get off an attack. And then yeah, like the Landorus lead with Pelipper, just helping hand Sansir. It's completely accurate, and it's doing something similar to NJ you talked about with your team. It doesn't have the electric aspect of those pins, but the ground ice pins can be very real.
Yeah. Yeah, no, agreed.
Yeah, it's a good Mon. It does so well into Miraidon if you can get like enough speed control. So I think it was a good call for Worlds, considering the amount of Miraidon in Top Cut and A2 as well.
You guys had your, naturally faster than Miraidon Pokemon like Fluttermane and Alucky. Yuta didn't. Well, I guess Yuta did have that, but
Yes,
Valiant wasn't going to provide speed control for the Landorus, and so instead, Landorus is providing it for itself with the Choice Scarf. But yeah, like this team is just so strange. I don't know. I just keep looking at it, and I'm like, man, there are two Pokemon that are faster than Shadow Rider on this team, Valiant and Landorus, and yet it's still pretty Trick Room centric, but at the same time not. Like, yeah, it just kind of can do it all. If you're getting your plays right, and this seems like a team that Yuta was very comfortable, like you said, risking it all and just trying to get the turns right, trying to find the best outcomes. But yeah, let's go ahead and keep moving through these teams because there's going to be a lot. And some of them will be quicker than others. Like we don't have to talk too much about Neon's team.
And even MDB, I think using a team that we've seen him use a bit before. Again, changing up one of the slots, using a choice band Entei, and using things like safety goggles substitute Urshifu, which I think is new. But yeah, just another Zam player using a different weird version of Zam, and I guess Diego, as the expert, I'll let you give us your thoughts on this team.
Yeah, so no Thunderwave is a throw.
Let's go.
That's
I
it.
do like the double dark.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You're gonna say something.
Oh, I was
No,
saying,
no,
yeah,
you're saying
that's it. We're done
that's the
talking about
only
it.
critique. The only critique is no Thunderwave. No comments further. Go ahead though, Diego.
I do like the double dark on the Chen Pao. I think that was a good call. You have the body press already on Zam. You can either, threaten the KO on the Kali Shadows, which I think this team does probably tend to struggle with. Well, maybe not because you got Wide Guard, AV Rilla. Um, the Ursh being, goggles and substitute, but no close combat, like that just seems really weird to me. But I guess he's really leaning on the body press with the Zam. Entei, I think, like the big thing that Zamazenta teams struggle with is I think Amoongus. So you really do need an Amoongus answer. So I guess the safety goggles on Ursh makes sense, and also Sacred Fire on Choice Band, and then you're doing a lot of damage with Zam and Chenpao. Um, Probably something that not many people know, but body press into Icicle Crash into Iron Hands is a KO.
Yep.
So it's a fun calc. It's interesting. You can knock out Iron Hands on the switch in. Um, Solid team, but yeah, the close combat, no close combat, no fighting move on Chen Pao or Ursh is standing out to me right now. But
Yeah, and then somebody was asking about the Urshifu set. The Urshifu set is very good into Amoongus Trick Room stuff. You can, especially like the Kali Ice ones, you can set up a sub pretty safely against Kali Ice because those Glacial Lances aren't doing too much, and then you're just looking to survive the Trick Room because once the speed is back in your favor, a lot of these Pokemon can go back on the offensive and start actually taking KOs again. But yeah, it's just all about making it through those Trick Room turns, and Sub is one of the best moves to do that. Urshifu just has a very good typing for this type of thing because it's got so many resistances.
It's also a punish to Raging Bolt, which is pretty cool. It's like our big punish to Thunderclap. So,
Yes.
um,
Though it doesn't actually do anything to Raging Bolt because it doesn't have a fighting
yeah,
move.
that's true.
Anyways, though,
So
do we have anything else we want to say about this one?
I think I want to keep moving because we do have some teams to talk about, and we were talking about how was this world's won by like standard stuff or weird stuff, but we kind of see a mix. Like top 8 is a pretty big mix. Obviously, Lucas' team pretty standard. Utah's team very weird. Michael's team is weird but also standard for Zamazenta, right? Like Zamazenta teams are usually pretty weird, and Neon of course using pretty standard stuff. But then we get to the real weird stuff, right? We already talked about Chenyu's team a little bit with the Dozo Giri stuff. And then I do want to talk about Diego's team because he was, I think, the number 1 seed. I believe the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
And using hard Trick Room, which is also super cool.
Sorry, Diego, but we have to talk about the better Diego right now.
Australian Diego. Australian Diego.
The Australian Diego. Also, just really quick, I saw something in the chat that's insane to me. I did not realize Raging Bolt didn't get a single top 8. That is pretty crazy and terrible for my fantasy draft.
Yeah, same.
Okay, but yeah, so Diego. Okay, it really depends on what time of day you're laddering at. And NJ, you said you weren't spending a lot of time laddering.
I played this team though.
Yeah,
like
I played it a lot.
it's
Have you?
Yeah,
Or
it was not fun because his Cali Ice is so fast. It was faster than mine, so I was like, oh, it's fine. I'm just gonna I'll get the lance off, and then he would Terra Dragon turn one. I'm like, oh, perfect. I'm about to take a knockout here with Glacial, and then he'd move before mine. And mind you, this was when I was incrementally increasing. I hit 80 first. I'm like, okay, he's really faster, and then I hit 84 at one point in testing, and then he was still faster. And then I hit 88, and he was still faster. I'm like, okay, I just give up. Like. I'm like, I can't outspeed this thing. I don't have enough EVs left. So they're always in prison. I'm just like, this is a miserable matchup between the wide guard in prison, and I'm just happy I didn't have to play against it at Worlds.
This Diego has been doing stuff like this, I believe, even through RegAF. I'd love to get to talk to Diego to actually, get to know the full story behind the team here. But I remember a very similar team in Regulation F, and Yeah, just not a believer in the move Protect. I honestly love it. Protect is on one Pokemon with Ursaluna. I know that we talked about both finalist teams having uh only two Protects, but this team has a number of Pokemon that usually run Protect and just don't. Torkoal, the Charcoal set runs it a lot. Ogerpon Spiky Shield is just another Protect clone, but we don't got room for that. Calyrex Ice, maybe we want to keep our restricted Pokemon safe. No, why would we do that? This team is just like, I don't know. I feel like this team sets aside all like it sets not all of them, but like a lot of like preconceived biases that a lot of competitive players have from looking at top teams and seeing how they're built. And this team was built so differently, and it looks like it's just trying to win on like positioning the perfect Pokemon across from you alone, as opposed to like having to worry about things like protect and stuff, or always having enough offense to win the game even if your Pokemon gets KO'd. This team is fascinating to me. um
I,
yeah.
I think it's got so many silver bullets, and it just kind of hit everything, right? Like, yeah, like you said, Calyrex Ice cannot really play into Imprisoned Calyrex Ice. That's really hard. Um, the Clear Smog on Torkoal helping with the Dozo, which is everywhere, and that's one of those things where if you ladder a lot, and it seems like he did, you're probably gonna pick up. I mean, we all kind of knew that Dozo was we all kind of saw the Dozo team that Justin used on ladder, but like, I don't know how many people actually text for it. He definitely did. Similarly, the Ogerpon set, Alex, I don't know if you remember, this was the Ogerpon set that I suggested we replace Electabuzz with.
Yep.
It is the exact set. I think it's kind of cool. It was a silver bullet type thing where it's really good into a couple of matchups. And then you also kind of have double normal for Calyrex Shadow teams, and you're setting up Tricker obviously against that, and Miraidon. Ursaluna is really hard to beat for Miraidon, and so it just kind of has like a little bit of something for everything that really makes their life miserable, and it's just so teched out for exactly what Diego thought the metagame would look like, and he mostly got it right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you said, like him being such a fast Cali Ice, like an underrated part of the team is he doesn't have to play in Trick Room against other Trick Room teams with such a fast Cali Ice. His I don't know what his speed set on his Gallade was, but that Gallade and the Cali Ice can probably devastate a lot of teams, even outside of Trick Room, and while blocking Trick Room for other teams. So, and the other part is like, yeah, he doesn't have Protect, but he's got double redirection and terrain support, so he can block a lot of Fake Out. And there's still ways to provide his team with the protection it needs to do the things that it needs to do. Like, he doesn't need to protect with two follow me's. He can set the board, like it gives him just enough time to position and set his board to sweep.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I wouldn't have been like shocked if something like this won, because it's got terrain control. Obviously, between Clear Smog, Sacred Sword, Sharpness, he's got an excellent answer to Dondozo. He's got the ground type to handle Miraidon, the terrain change, and double redirection. And so, like, it's a really toolsy team. Gives himself a lot of outs. He just has to play it well, and I think he did that for really long stretches. Again, single restricted is really unforgiving, so one mistake can really cost you. But I think it was an excellent showing from him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
This team is awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
I will say I can see how he lost to Zamazenta. That does not seem as teched out for as the other stuff. So that does seem like a bad matchup. But yeah, against more common stuff, absolutely. All right, so we talked about
What do you mean? That is so good.
True.
We talked, well, honestly now, yeah, it was the third best restricted at Worlds. Like, yeah, it was. So we talked about Nubjit, and we got a couple Terapagos teams coming up next. I guess we could talk about Yucheng's team, and then I think we're going to be a little more selective after that.
We don't gotta talk about this one. I'm looking at it. Like, what is there to say?
Fine, yeah, let's skip it. I mean, it's pretty standard Kavai Terapagos stuff. It's got the T-Wave Fluttermane. Woo, great set. And again, this type of team that's really trying to create turns. Double Fake Out, Thunder Wave. Oh my god, this is just so annoying to play against.
Yeah, there's nothing to say about this except that, like, if you were to like open up Cut Explorer and click on Incineroar, you might see a slight dip in the usage of safety goggles. I think a lot of people were, I mean, in terms of the top finishing Incineroars, most of them went Rocky Helmet, funnily enough. That was the most common item. a lot of people were saying, Amoongus is falling off, and I'm gonna go ahead and sleep on it, literally. And Rocky Helmet makes it a lot more annoying for Urshifu to just say goodbye to your fake out intimidate Pokemon. You have to take a real penalty, especially the Sash ones. You really don't want to hit into a Rocky Helmet with your Sash or Shifu and then get OHKO'd by an Astral Barrage afterwards. Yeah, I think that Rocky Helmet was a very clever adaptation going into those worlds, really playing into what the metagame was.
Yeah. I can talk about Huma's team because I did play him in Swiss, and these teams are so similar. He was running, I think he was running like Bull Terrapagos because his when I tried to CC it with Urshifu, it was around 50%. I went for CC into it at -1, and it just lived on a sliver. And he was +1, and he didn't return the knockout with Terra Starstorm. Mind you, I did have like 116 Spadef, so like a Spadef EV. So, but even still, like at -1 and Trapagos being at +1, it should always be a knockout if it's modest. I believe so. I feel like and he had like Turbo Rillaboom as well. So yes, it does look pretty standard on paper, but like those adjustments with like a really, really defensive Terrapagos, the Rocky Helmet Instant, like punishing, surging, like forcing Urshifus to take half of their health. Like, in my matchup, I felt like, oh, I'm set. I have a fighting type for Terrapagos. I don't even have to worry. I'll be okay. And then I remember game one, like him playing so perfectly around the Urshifu. And when I saw my Glacial Lance literally do like 30% after breaking the Terra Shell, I was like, yeah, like this is gonna be pretty annoying to take out. So I can see why he made such a deep run. Like, yes, it looks standard on like the team sheet, but when you play against it, some of the EV choices, some of the item choices, and he also had Thunderwave. Like Diego just spent so much time talking about. Like, this is a really, really annoying team when you couple that with the fact that he's probably really defensive Trapagos and taking turns away. I believe I was talking to Kian, who was using the Zacian team, and he was telling me like Thunderwave, Flutter Mane really threw a wrench in his plan for positioning his Urshifu as well. So, yeah, I think the team, like as far as Trapagos teams go, it was a really smart call with some of the things that he ran on the team.
And
And I'm
so
sure like the
there's-
top 8 team. I'm sorry, and I'm sure the top 8 team, other than like having the Shenpao as well, I'm pretty sure they played the really similar.
Yeah.
So we still have to talk about the brand new circuit, and so I want to leave some time for that. So I'm gonna make and we got the rest of the top cut teams pulled up. I'm gonna make everyone choose one of the rest of the top cut teams that they want to talk about. Yeah. So and Diego, I'm gonna let you go first.
Oh, okay. Oh shoot.
If you're ready.
I have one picked out.
Okay, go
I
ahead,
have one
Alex.
picked out, so let's go ahead and start with me.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Justin Knox's team yet. It is the best finish of that archetype of team. It was going around on a lot on ladder, and people became aware of it a little bit sooner than they probably would have liked. But yeah, the Shadow Rider plus Wheezing plus Dozo team is like the main components here that we're catching on. You would lead with sometimes Specs, I guess sometimes Life Orb Calyrex, next to like a Wheezing, and then you have to deal with Calyrex doing some crazy offense, but also Wheezing is kind of functioning like Glamora on some of the older Dozo teams. It's getting off Poison Gas, which is almost like Mortal Spin, or manually setting Toxic Spikes like Glamora's Toxic Debris. What separates them, of course, is that Wheezing turns off all the abilities except for As-1. As-1 is immune to Wheezing's abilities, As-1 is immune to neutralizing gas. So it isn't disabled in any way. Calyrex can still get the +1 special attack and still turn off berries. And it can be very devastating to try to figure out which of these Pokemon you need to double into. Do you need to focus down the Calyrex Shadow so that you don't get off multiple Astral Barrages? Or do you need to focus down the Wheezing so they don't poison your whole team? Or are they just going to switch into Dozo and Geary and you whiff your attacks and have to, go into a whole different game mode because that's what Dozo does? Yeah, I think these teams suck. I hate it. My team had a good matchup, and I would love to play you, Justin. Just kidding. Anyways, I had to make sure I beat these teams because I talk a lot of shit about Dozo. I hate this mod.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So we
go
have a
ahead,
team
Adi.
report with Justin. I recorded it yesterday, and so I think it'll be out
Nice.
sometime this weekend or Monday or something like that. So look forward to that. I really do think he had one of the most impressive runs. He went 10-1, and then his only losses in Swiss and in Top Cut were both to Clear Smog and Mungus, and everything else he beat. So yeah, really, really impressive run from Justin. And if you want to hear more about it, exclamation point!
But
YT
don't
in
run
chat.
that team. Don't run that team, or I will respect you less. No.
All right, Diego, it's your turn.
Okay. It's probably standard team, but I guess I wanted to talk about the player. So Kylan, another Canadian who also came in top cut. He ended up beating Wolfie and Eric Rios. So I think just wanted to like mention that, like even with the
Mhm.
standard-ish team, like Kylan's play was like top notch. Terra Normal on the Fluttermane for the Cali Shadows, the AV on Raging Bolt, put a wrench in the Terra Water on the Cali Shadows. But otherwise, like yeah, his play was phenomenal this weekend. He did really well. Really happy to see another Canadian also in top cut and beating top players. But yeah, that's all.
And yeah, I feel like there are some things here that help stand it out. Flutter GU is not often seen on Cali Ice teams, not at least until this Worlds where we saw Hirofumi doing it as well. And so yeah, it definitely like again plays a very different game where they have the fast options like Flutter GU or Flutter Dark Ursh, but Calyrex can flip the switch whenever or just pair this with Glacials.
Also, yes, Kylan is 15 years old and he got top 16 at Worlds. Yeah. It's insane.
I'll be honest, I didn't know the Masters cutoff was
I think
that.
he's 17. Yeah.
He's 17? Man, Rafa,
Yeah,
he was
he's
lying to me.
Yeah, no, okay. I saw people saying that he was really young, and I believe that, they're really young, but I did not think 15-year-olds were in Masters. I thought it was 17 and up or something like that.
I think 16. Masters.
16? Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
okay.
NJ, what you got?
Honestly, a lot of the teams look pretty standard. I guess I'll talk about team a bit, even though I didn't play against it. Everyone looks the most interesting. I think just with the Roaring Moon adjustment that he made, I think a lot of those teams.
Sorry, I missed it. Who'd you say?
Grimsnarl.
Said OE?
Oh, sorry, am I cutting out a bit?
You're cutting
Yeah,
out
I
a
said
little bit.
OE. Here, let me fix my audio a bit. Give me 1 second.
But yeah, we also haven't talked about Yang's team at all.
Yeah, I should.
Which I think is a cool one. Just
Here.
with a quick shout to that Ogre Pond.
Is that a bit better, by the way?
That is much better.
Okay,
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah, I'll just mention OE's team real quick, like a bit like dropping the Grimsnarl, I guess, on a lot of these teams for the Roaring Moon, I think adds extra protection against things like Rillaboom, Ogre Ponds. And so I think a cool way to go about the Combine Kyogre, right? Like being able to have the redirection fake out support to set up the Combines and then bring the fast Tailwind one in from behind as a win con. That also adds relevant coverage to deal with your things that can kind of threaten your Kyogre. I think that was a really, really cool way to run Kyogre for this event. And I think it showed like being one of the best Kyogres. I think the best Kyogre right at the tournament. So small innovation, but I think the one like it was really relevant to the tournament.
Not to mention that Roaring Moon, it really favors the fact that you're pressuring out the Insins with your water types, and all the Shadow Riders are switched to Psychic move. They're not often running the Fairy move anymore, so it can kind of just wall that. Also, I saw somebody in the chat say that he was knocked out to an Origin Pulse miss. I have no sympathy for that. I'm sure that you hit a lot of Origin Pulses to get there, so
Yeah.
it was bound to happen eventually.
My experience, I tested this team. I considered bringing, the Grimstar version to Worlds, and I felt like, God, the CSR Urshifu matchup. That matchup is so hard for this team. You cannot beat that pin, and Roaring Moon does. So I think that's another cool justification for using it. It's really good into that combination.
I think Oliver also lost like when the person he missed the Origin Diego, the Australian Diego. So
yeah.
Common walk, Diego. Someone said in the chat. I was like,
Yeah.
And so, Alex, you mentioned the team that I was going to talk about, so we'll talk about it.
Go for it.
Shi Liang also had a really, really cool take on Calyrex Ice. A few things that I want to talk about. First off, he was Terry Normal, which is something that was picking up in popularity. It really is just it sort of it really, really flips the Calyrex Shadow matchup. And a lot of times, Calyrex Ice is just bulky enough that it doesn't really want to take anything except for neutral hits. It doesn't need to resist whatever you're throwing at it. It just has to be neutral. And Normal is, of course, fantastic neutral coverage. So it just I think that makes a lot of sense, and something that we start to see a little more of. And then of course the Ogre Pawn is super cool. We didn't see a ton of grass Ogre Pawn. I know we were kind of aware of this on ladder because they ladder a lot. But yeah, it's another cool mon that deters Intimidate. And on-core pressure was really, really good. We also saw it on the Iron Valiant. Being able to on command become faster is really cool. It's another way to like punish something like a Calyrex Shadow for trying to set up on you, for example, where you can just go faster if you want to. And so, I'm sure there's a lot of other utility from it. And then last but not least, of course, we did see the Landorus again pop up elsewhere, but that was also something that was not really on my radar for Calyrex Ice, but yeah, did really well on this Calyrex Ice team as well.
Sash Water Ursh was such a nightmare adaptation that like
agreed.
got really annoying for Cali Ice teams, and so the loaded dice bullet seed was a great response. On top of the Rocky helmet from Incineroar also playing into it. But yeah, it just got really, really annoying to have to deal with Urshifu always getting off so many hits, and Ogre Pawn can just outspeed it and one shot it with bullet seed, thanks to the loaded dice. A really cool way to just cheat around that.
Yeah.
Top of it, just having a lot of other cool niche benefits, like Adi mentioned.
Yeah, and then last but not least, I have to shout out the Altaria guy, Motoki Agano, who is my personal favorite player in the entire world, because he always comes up with super cool stuff, and also he used my team to top cut the 2022 World Championships, the Gothitelle Palkia team that Alex and I built. And so yeah, not quite top cutting with Altaria, but yeah, just a super, super cool team with Groudon. Groudon low key was kind of like was way, way more represented than I thought it would be at the World Championships. But yeah, just another really, really cool team that I wanted to highlight. That, man, we got some GCs in Regulation G coming up. Oh, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna see some wacky stuff.
Dude, it's an underrepresented point of this team. Like they only have one status move, by the way. It is just Sing from the Altaria, and they said, yeah, that's enough justification to go only Hex on the Flutter. We don't need Shadow Ball. Like, it's just so funny to me. They were like, yeah. Their whole team's gonna be sleeping. I want to be doing more damage. I don't know, man. It's so wacky.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Let's go ahead and let's make sure we give enough time to the announcements that actually came out today.
Yeah.
We might, we can always talk about these teams in 6 months when they come back.
That's true, and I'm sure we will
Or
recap
4 months,
Regulation
whatever.
G when Regulation G is back. But yeah, we have announcements, and I guess first and foremost, we have regional locations. I mentioned this earlier that I really wish they had announced this during the World Championships, but they didn't. And so now we get all this information. It's not every event. Again, we do know that, for example, the San Antonio Convention Center is hosting a Pokemon tournament, which is probably the regional, and that's going to be in January. So this is not an exhaustive list. Don't worry, there are more events, but this is at least a starting point, and it lets us plan our season a little bit more.
There's a huge gap. There's just this huge gap between Toronto and Vancouver that I refuse to believe is going to be empty. Some people were saying, like, is this really it? Like, they said they were going to announce more, and then these are the more. But no, I feel like there's got to be more. Like, I don't think we're going to be doing nothing from, Christmas until the middle of, like, the beginning of March. So,
right, yeah. And so yeah, we'll get more. We lose Diego.
He said BRB in the chat.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. And so yeah, so we got some new regionals, but so Toronto regionals was already there. Vancouver and Milwaukee were announced. A bunch of European regionals were announced, including Sevilla, which is one of my favorite cities. I got to study there for a little bit in college, and so I would love to go back there. And then we also have LATAM getting a bunch of events and Australia getting a bunch of events. So first off, big news for Australia. They do in fact have regionals this season. Congratulations, we didn't forget about you. And then the two big ones in LATAM. I know most of the LATAM players, I'm surely, are very excited about a lot of these, but I'm personally really excited for the two that are in Mexico, in Merida, which I believe is about a couple hours away from Cancun. Don't check me on that. My Mexican geography isn't great. And then Monterrey, which is in the northeast kind of corner of Mexico. I was told that you shouldn't drive there from Texas, but you theoretically could. It's like an 8-hour drive. But I wouldn't risk the Mexican border. But yeah, it's also a very cheap flight for a lot of Americans on the East Coast, a lot of Americans in the Midwest. And so if this event doesn't have it has a relatively large cap, then yeah, I would not be surprised to see this be like the same size as Vancouver regionals.
Do not
as accessible.
get Adi talking about Mexican events, man.
I'm just saying.
He's
Look out for that.
He's been waiting for this.
I've been waiting for dude. I had so much fun at the Cancun special event all the way back in 2019, and I've been waiting to go back. The Mexican players are awesome. I'm friends with a bunch of them. I got to see a bunch of them at Worlds, and I haven't seen them in a long time. So I'm really excited for this. I am definitely going to be going to Monterrey if possible. Alex, which regionals are you going
I'm sure. I feel like NJ might go to Vancouver. I don't know though.
Yeah, it's a bit far. I think it's a little bit far for me. I don't know if I'll be able to make it.
How long's the walk?
Man, I don't know. It's gonna be a while. No,
Anyway.
I think we're pretty lucky on the West Coast to have like Sacramento and Vancouver. It's quite nice to have two accessible regional locations.
Just two. I want more. I want Portland.
Well,
bring back Portland.
Hey, flights to Toronto are pretty cheap if you hop across the border to Vancouver. So maybe that.
I have heard that.
And then also Milwaukee again is another one that, man, I miss Madison regionals. I didn't get to go to Milwaukee, but that was always a really nice one to have. So yeah, and then also very accessible for Toronto. So I guess Diego, any chance you're going to Milwaukee?
When is it? Sorry, I haven't checked.
May 2nd to 4th.
Maybe we'll see. I haven't really decided yet if I wanted to compete this season. This top 75 is just wild to me. Like, it's a lot of money, daytime, paid time off that you need to take off for work and stuff. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe.
I was about to say, how did you finish at Worlds again? You don't need to worry about getting top 75, but when it's for like reasons like PTO and money, that's a lot more real and honestly a much more fair criticism of the new system. When that actually they did nerf it a little bit. They reeled it in a little bit. So let's talk about
a lot.
I'm just
let's talk about that then.
Sorry for interrupting.
Go for it, Noddy.
Oh man, I mean, this is such a great change, and they nerfed it like I was worried about it going into it as well. I was like, man, like if you go to every internets, you are so far ahead of the field, and it's just like, man, do I really want to compete with people who are just like kind of like going to every internets and like I have to go to 6 regionals or 5 regionals plus internets and do really well. But they made some changes, and I am so happy about them. So first off, the internet CP payout has reduced, and you can see Victor Road has posted the updated graphic. I don't know if anyone has the old graphic available, but yeah, it's now it's not nearly as crazy as it's about 1.5x compared to regionals, which is fine because they are harder events. It's still worth going to, but now all of a sudden, if you start racking up top 256 at internets, that's not something that is going to, or top 128 to internets, that's not going to dwarf someone's regional performances where they, top cuts in regionals, and that is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then also they reduced the BFL.
So then they also cut the BFL.
Go ahead, Alex. You can talk.
I was gonna say, yeah, they cut the BFL. It's still shared between regionals and internets, which I'm not like a huge fan of. It's a bit of, I mean, I don't know, it's weird. But anyways, it's down to 5. It was 6. And between these two changes, it made me feel a lot less like I had to go to 2 internets just to qualify for Worlds. Now it's like maybe I can just, try to fill it up with regionals and things will be okay. Yeah, the last change is no round 1 buys the 2025 Worlds. I gotta find the tweet. I'm wondering if they did it literally directly in response to Wolf.
I think so.
Like, it was kind of insane how like Wolf's response. I don't know if he. I guess I forgot. I'm
Almost,
not the one sharing my screen, Audie, so you can find it. But I
was it
grabbed it
Marcus
for
who
you.
tweeted it or something? I don't
So
remember.
No, Marcus tweeted a complaint on behalf of Wolf. Saying like these round one buys seem a little too strong. The fact that they have perfect resistance is kind of weird. It's already pretty helpful to get a free win round one. Then they announced the changes, and Wolf says, "Great changes. Thanks for the swift response." And it makes it sound like he sent them an email, like or something, saying like, "Hey, by the way, this round one buy shit sucks." And then they were like, "We're on it, boss." Like 4 business days later, it's changed. Like
and
I
so
don't know.
here, okay. I actually have a lot to say about this, so I'm going to rant about it for a little bit. You get one Audie rant per stream. Okay.
10
Everyone,
minutes in.
if you watched Tub Takes, you knew that this was a super buy. We talked about it before Worlds that it was a super buy. The players who were surprised that it was a super buy should watch Tub Takes first and foremost. Like this was not something that should be a surprise to you. We didn't know it at the beginning of the season, so when you were planning your season, I understand. But yeah, we knew this going into Worlds. We knew this was going to be the structure for Worlds. Specifically, I'm talking about Chuppa, who dropped at X3 when he had a super buy and maybe should have played it out and gotten top 32. So players who didn't Chuppa watch Tub Takes. But the second thing is, they had to really incentivize you to go for top 8 when the championship point bar is 500 points. And Wolf Glick is the perfect example of that because he won 2 regionals. He has no excuse for not getting a top 12 buy. Because like he was right there. And in fact, after his international performance, I think he was like 80 championship points short, which is just showing up to 2 locals. Wolf decided he made the very conscious decision that it was not worth it for him to show up to locals and chase a round 1 buy. And he got punished for it because he had to play an extra round as a result in Top Cut. I think going to 2 midseason showdowns is worth potentially getting a buy, but I don't know. And then the other thing is that like the point of the circuit, the entire point of the circuit structure is that you want your good players going to events. I'm sure Pokemon hates that Emilio Forbes doesn't go to more events because he is like a potential superstar, right? He is and just like doesn't show up. You want Wolf Glick to show up to as many events as possible because I'm sure that your viewership numbers are doubled when Wolfie shows up to an event, right? You want Jody Azzarelli on stream. You want Aaron Zhang on stream. You really want these players to play. But when you have a championship point bar of 500 and regional champions get auto invites, a lot of players show up to 1-2 regionals and then don't show up to any more. And they don't have to. And that is really bad for Pokemon. And as a result, they have to make it so getting top 8 in your region and grinding after you've already achieved what was a relatively easy bar to achieve if you went to enough events, they really needed to make it so people had a reason to push for top 8 or top 12, right? And so I think Marcus also pointed out on this tweet that in the past, this was pushed way more. Getting 7 buys or 8 buys was a way bigger deal than getting 1 buy, right? So
that was like the immediate criticism to his tweet, and I thought it was very valid. Is like, hey buddy, like I don't know if you used to do this, but you used to skip like the whole thing. Like, it was definitely a reeled in version of it, and I'm glad that you're mentioning this, Ali, because I was like kind of happy to see them gone, but like it does legitimately hurt. I mean, I guess the top 75 will keep people playing all year round. But yeah, like it was a reason for people to play all season long, to go their hardest at every single tournament, was to chase those round 1 buys. And if those are gone, it will take a lot of incentive away for people to go all out, I guess.
exactly, it is you get your this past season, if without the round 1 buys, you get your Worlds invite and you stop playing and you have no reason to play. And the fact that the round 1 buys were not that big an advantage. They were an advantage to like 3 players who went X2 or something like that, and they were an advantage to the players who bubbled into top 32, and not even all of them, right? 33rd was Torviv, and he also had a round 1 bye. So it basically says that you win tiebreakers if you don't top cut, which only matters for maybe a few players total, right? I think, and everyone's goal is to win Worlds at the World Championships, and Like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like it is actually not that big a deal. It just happened to come up for the best player in the world, or for the best known player in the world. And so yeah, like I thought that the round one bye was totally fine because it meant that people had a reason to play all these events, do their absolute best at every event, while also not really being that much of a competitive advantage. All things considered. However, like you said, Alex, and you really, I think, hit the nail on the head there, is that now with the top 75 system, you don't need to give a reward to top 8. Because the top 8 are going to be people who were pretty much comfortably in the top 75 and then also did well at NAIC, right? Like, you are, or players who were at least feeling like they were going to be top 75 if they got points at NAIC and then popping off at NAIC. There's going to be very few players who don't do well at NAIC who get top 75 or get in the top 8 or top 12 anyways. And so, yeah, it doesn't really make sense when, because of the new structure, everyone has to push their entire season. You don't really need the round one buys anymore to incentivize people to go to many events. They are going to go to these events and do their best anyways because they are not guaranteed a Worlds invite anymore. Sorry, end of race. Someone else can talk now.
Somebody did mention that if you still want to chase a travel award, that's probably still a reason to do it. And so, yeah, I guess there are those. Like, you can still earn money to pay you to fly to Worlds, but you don't get any kind of advantage in the tournament, which I mean is closer to a system I'm okay with. But yeah, I do agree with a lot of the points made in Adi's rant, definitely, and it's just so funny. Like I'm telling you, like the phrasing of Wolf's tweet, I'm definitely reading into it too much. But the fact that he said "thank you for the swift response" makes it sound like he put in like a formal complaint, whether it was like verbally said at the convention, because like he's obviously got a lot of connections. They talk to him, they listen to him, they respond to all his tweets. So like he's got pull. But the thank you for the swift response is just so funny to me. It's just so amusing to me. I linked it in the chat.
He came in ninth on the top 24 seed, so I guess he could have gotten that round one, like that bye to round into top 16. So I guess
Yes.
He didn't have to play out that last match against Kylan, so I guess swift response.
Yeah, that's entirely what it is, definitely. But yeah, this I don't know, man. The phrasing is just so funny.
Okay.
Are there any other changes that we needed to mention? I linked one there, Adi. That was a bit. Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about
the global challenges. Yeah, I saw Moxie Boosted tweeted it, and I did not realize how much this dude tweets. I had to scroll for like a long time, and he tweeted it today. Okay. Sorry, Marcos. Anyways, yeah. Here's the BFL, and I realized that I'm very stupid because I actually quote tweeted it. So I could have just done that. But yeah. So we got 8 global challenges. It was implied that we would get more global challenges, and we found out exactly how they're going to be formatted. Sort of. Well, I guess maybe not exactly. But so essentially, the important thing is that we have 8 global challenges that spread out pretty evenly throughout the year, and they are split between grand challenges and global challenges. They have a BFL of 3 combined, and the global challenges are going to include players from all over the world, including Asia and mainly Asia, non-CP regions. Whereas the grand challenges are only going to be for players who can earn championship points. I don't know if Japan can compete or not, but it's not going to really matter. They're not going to get anything on the line. They're not going to earn invites to their nationals or anything like that, is what it sounds like. And yeah, otherwise they're the same thing. But there's 8 of them. I don't know, Alex, what do you think?
You really got to play in these, don't you, to get top 75, huh? If there's 8 of them, like you got to get, and you get 3 finishes. I'm just realizing now, like you really gotta play in these. They reward a lot more points. We talked about that already. They got that was like buffed a season or 2 ago, and then they got minorly buffed this time. They're like more top heavy too, which is like pretty solid. You can actually get a pretty good amount even for like a top 32 now. I should pull up the page and link it to Adi, but
I pulled it up, Adi. I pulled up my tweet.
Okay, nice. So yeah, like 170 for first, and like even all the way down to top 32, you're getting over 100 championship points, 120 of them, and you get 3 finishes in these, and there's like plenty of opportunities to play in them. Because back when we it had like a best finish limit of, what was it last season? Was it also? It was 2.
It might have been.
There was 3 of them,
but it's historically been 2.
back when there was only so many of them, like it didn't feel like somebody was going to get a major advantage on you. And that again, that was not a top 75 system. It was just for Worlds invites. They didn't feel nearly as necessary to play. Now they feel a lot more necessary to play. They reward a lot of points. This is going to be wild. This is gonna be, and then there was this specific section of text that somebody highlighted. I don't know if we should read into it too much or not, but it said they are online VGC events run via Battle Stadium, blah, blah, blah. They may feature a different format from in-person events. I linked that one in the doc, Adi, but yeah, it's super weird. It's somewhere in the announcement that, yeah, you can... It might even be a different format.
Mhm.
It is
Regardless, I don't know. NJ, what do you think about the fact that there's like 8 global challenges now, 4 of them being grand challenges?
I think like taking a step back for next season, it's just going to be I think the bar is going to be raised like in terms of the performance. Like you have to show mastery across best of 3 open sheet, and now you also have to show mastery across best of 1 close sheet. Like the amount of Pokemon you have to play in conjunction with the type of Pokemon you have to play next season is going to be insane. And like you said, having to play in 3 of these and having to get results in 3 of them, it's like while being completely different from the preparation that you're putting into the tournaments you're going to in person, it's going to be it's just going to be a really crazy. And I think 8 of them as well. Like it gives you plenty of opportunity, but potentially being different than in-person events. It's also, I don't know how many people will be like, well, I really need to prepare for this regional coming up, and I also have to prepare a different team for this global challenge coming. And now beforehand it would be like, yes, at least it's the same format, even though it is best of 1, I might have to prepare a little bit differently. But now imagine it being 2 different formats a couple of weeks out, and you're not only do you have to prepare a different team, it's a different format. I have to play a completely different style of games. And so I could see it messing with a lot of people's preparation, especially those who don't have a lot of time between work and kind of other obligations and responsibilities. So part of me is like, yes, I'm happy with the opportunities they're providing, but also like it seems like a nightmare to have to prepare for all of this stuff.
For sure. I mean, I think that the best global challenge I did last year was the one where I built the team specifically for best of 1. And whenever I use my regional team, it was always a struggle. So I definitely feel that.
Mhm.
Diego, how do you feel?
Same sentiment. Like it seems like a lot. Once, like basically a global challenge every month. The other thing that I guess I hope they considered is that I hope the GCs are not on the same weekend as a regional, because then you're deciding, do I compete in the GC to get maybe 30, 40 points, or do I do really well in the regional for that weekend? So hopefully there isn't any clash, but you never know with Pokemon.
That's true. It's always tough for them because they have like a regional basically every weekend almost, right? And so someone's
Yeah.
gonna be pissed off no matter what. But at least now with 8 chances and your BFL of 3, it doesn't feel as bad to have a regional on the same weekend as a global challenge.
Yeah. You'll find your opportunity to fill them up if you like. Even if one of them is on a overlapping weekend, you'll be able to make it work. You're not gonna suffer that much.
You just don't have to play in it, which is like, yeah, you have other chances, which is nice. I always felt really pressured to get at least a few points from a global challenge when I was even at a regional, play 15, 20 games and get 10 points here and there. But now, obviously, it's just not worth it anymore.
Mhm. I think a lot of people would play like the global challenges while they were in their hotel, and then play the regional as well when the timing was. But I feel like this type of structure really just forces you like pick one, prepare for one, and then go for it. Like there's no point in sacrificing one for the other. Just pick one and give that one your best shot.
Mhm. And then, so we touched on this a little bit, but I tweeted this too. The drop off from top 32 to top 64 is kind of crazy, right? Like it is the difference between getting top 32, getting 33rd, 32nd and 33rd is the difference between getting 2nd and 32nd, right? Like it is a lot. And so the way I see it is you have 8 chances to get 3 top 32 finishes, and then anything past top 32 is marginal. which one completely changes your strategy. Because now all of a sudden, in the past, we'd see Japanese players kind of park at the top, I think 150 range to get their invite to Japan Nationals, and the North American players or the Western players rather, would be like the top 10, and then there would be none until like 150 or something like that, right? Like, but now all of a sudden, Western players also kind of have an incentive to park. Like there isn't really much of a reason to go from 32nd place to first place. It's only a few points here and there, but there's a lot more risk in losing and dropping into 33rd place. And so I am curious how this is going to impact strategy. But yeah, as far as like for me, if I'm thinking about it as I have 8 chances to get 3 top 32s.
I guess something for me is this is coming up a lot faster than I thought. Like it's a different format than I would have been expecting to prepare for. Not necessarily, regulation H or not, but I mean like best of one closed team sheet. I was gonna be just streaming, hanging out, chilling, and minding my own business until Sacramento, whenever that is. It's like October or November, and so I had some time. But now you're telling me that once August ends, that I'm gonna have to start thinking about what do I want to use in this upcoming grand challenge. This is so different, so weird, but honestly, I like the change. I'm glad that they're giving more opportunities for people to earn points at home. Something we talked about a lot after the COVID years with Players Cup and stuff was it's just like good to give more online opportunities, and this is what that is doing, at least. Maybe not like open team sheet best of 3, but it's still official Pokemon at the end of the day, and that's like what I'm here for.
Also, minor thing. Shout out to them for naming it Grand Challenge and letting us use GC interchangeably. Like, can you imagine if they named it something else and we had to just
Yeah, that would have been a
Well,
I
don't know if this is referencing League Cups and League Challenges, Adi. God damn it.
It is also like we already had to go from ICs to GCs, and now I just started calling them GCs, so I'm glad I don't have to change to a different nomenclature.
Yes, but on the flip side, they really dropped the ball with League Challenge and League Cup, man. Like, I hate it. I hate it so much.
All right. Did we miss anything else as far as changes to the circuit goes?
I guess I had a question though. For Grand Challenge versus Global Challenge, is there a difference in points? Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but
There is not.
No, I don't think so. No.
okay, so just a difference in name. Okay.
The difference is that Asian players either can't or don't get any prizing for playing in the Grand Challenges.
Got it.
Mhm.
Got it.
But yeah. All right. In that case, we got one last thing we got to do, which is the Calc is Right. So for those that don't know, the Calc is Right is a game that we like to play at the end of our streams, where each person has a damage calc, and they'll read it out, and then the other players will have to guess a number that is hopefully within the damage range of that calc. And if you get it in the range, you get it right, and if you're outside the range, you get it wrong. And so we kind of go one at a time. We kind of sprung this on you. I don't know if y'all prepared for this, so if you have a calc, let me know. Otherwise, I guess we can start with Alex.
All right. So the calc that we're going to be running here is, I queued into Terra fighting Iron Hands, and I'm super scared. And so I'm going to switch out to my Chi Yu, my defensive switch in on the low kick. Because well, I guess you can figure that part out for yourself. But they went for Terra fighting Helping Hand, in electric terrain, low kick. So I guess Quark Drive, Terra fighting, Helping Hand, low kick into my Chi Yu, and I'm no bulk. I have 4 HP. I'm just 4 HP. I'm a Scarf Chi Yu switching in on this low kick. How much am I taking? So when you guys are ready, just like say that you're ready and whatever, and I'll call on you guys. For example, if you think it's doing between 10 to 20%, you think it's like dead in the middle, you'd say 15 or something like that, and then if it's 10 to 20%, you'd be right. Of course, 10 to 20% sounds pretty wrong for this answer. I just didn't want to suggest anything that sounded right.
All right. What was the Iron Hands?
I didn't actually specify its EVs. Let's say it's 156 adamant. I don't actually know what the Iron Hands on these teams run very often, but yeah, we'll say 156 adamant.
Was it corked up?
Yeah, Quark in electric terrain. So yeah, once you are locked in, just say it out loud, and I will. And I'll call on you guys.
Wait, so 156 adamant low kick, court drive. You said helping hand?
Helping hand and terra fighting.
Oh,
Into
and
this
terrifying.
GU. I've seen the terra fighting ones. So, you know, let's see
Into
where
a
we end up.
min bulk Chiyu, was that it?
4 HP GU.
4 HP Chiyu. All right. Who knows how heavy Chiyu is? I got a number.
Pretty light, right? It's gotta be pretty light. I don't know.
That's what I thought.
Oh no.
All right. We'll start with NJ. Are you ready?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just taking a wild guess. It's like one of those calcs where like it's going past 100%. Obviously, I'll guess like I don't know 545% or something like that.
Okay.
Something like that. It's killing it 5 times over. On
5 times over. It's dead 5 times over. All right. Diego, you're next. What do you got?
I'll go a bit lower. I'll go 180.
180%.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Bobby, what do you got?
I think it's like I'm trying to figure out if it's like 20 base power or 40 base power because it's literally double the damage. So I think I'm also leaning towards something over 100, but not quite as high as Navjit. And so my number was 150%.
I could technically participate, and I'll throw in a 118. Like, I'm not even sure if it's killing or not. Guys, this is a 20 base power move.
Is it
Let's
20?
go ahead and run it.
I kind of thought it was 40.
Dude,
But
I thought it was 40 or like 50 or something. That's why I went so high.
No, I think Chiyu is unfortunately the lightest it is possible.
All right. So we got adamant 156 low kick. You said with helping hand?
Yeah, with helping hand. I might have put a few too many multipliers for Chiyu to hang on, but
Yeah.
maybe I didn't. Honestly,
Maybe
it is
maybe
a
you
very
didn't.
low.
No, the electric train went away. Is that it? We get everything?
I'm waiting. I'm a little bit on the stream delay, but let's see.
I'm sharing my screen, aren't I? Okay.
Oh wait,
So
are you? I don't have.
I'm looking at 65 to 79%.
Wow, you're way off.
Nice.
Damn. All right.
Hooked.
Yeah, so the lowest answer I've seen is actually Nails saying, oh wait, we haven't terra fighting.
Oh, we haven't terra
Have we?
fighting. Thank you. Okay. 88 to 106 if you terra fighting. My bad.
Yeah, so Nails didn't quite get it. Nobody in here got it. Yeah, it's not even comfortably OKOing, and we put everything we had into this low kick.
I gave this guy too much credit, man. This guy's a fraud.
They call it iron hands, not iron toes, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Fair enough. I was like, geez, it's going to be way stronger than I'm like light. Well,
No, I put everything on there because I knew it does nothing if you don't.
All right. Diego, NJ, do either of y'all have calcs ready?
sure, I can do one that's maybe was relevant.
Yeah, that's always great. Let's do it.
We can do a Reggie Alecki one.
Yeah, I'd love that.
How much do you guys think a modest 252 Reggie Alecki tear it into electric would do to a Pelipper that's Terra Grassed? Let's give a Pelipper max HP.
What attack? I don't know if you said Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt, yeah.
Okay.
Helping hand, Terra Electric, Thunderbolt into max HP Pelipper.
Oh, we're throwing the helping hand on too?
Yeah, because I clicked that with Furgraph.
Right.
Oh. So it's funny because I haven't thought about Reggie Alecki since they nerfed Transistor. So all my internal calcs are with 1.5x.
Okay.
Sorry, what was the Pelipper spread again?
Just 252 and then 252 HP.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
ready.
How strong is Reggie Alecki compared to a Miraidon? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, okay, I got a number.
All right, so NJ, you pick on somebody to start.
Just give me 1 second. Pelipper. Yeah, sure. We can get started with you, Alex.
Okay. I think it's doing 106. I think it's killing.
Okay. And then, so you said 106. Okay.
Yep.
Let me put that down.
Don't know me down.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll remember it.
Okay.
No,
all right.
Yeah.
All right, Diego, what about you?
82. I think it lives. I
82.
believe in Pelipper.
All right.
Okay. And then, sorry, repeat that 86 you said?
82.
82, sorry, 82. All right. And then what about you, Adi?
I think I know. So I know the Maridon Calc, and I think it's maybe like I don't know, half as strong, 2/3 as strong. I was also looking at around 75.
75. Okay. All
All
right,
right,
let's run it.
let's run it. So we got
Run it,
Pelipper
Audi.
with 252 and Terra Grass, and as Terrad into Reggie Aleki with I forgot. Were you timid max or modest max?
I was modest, Max.
Modest max with the helping hand, and no other multipliers, right?
No other mod. Nope.
So I'm looking at 55 to 64. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about it.
What the heck?
That's how much I did. Yeah, dude, it didn't do that much. I was sad.
No.
Yeah.
You feel like it would do way more, but yeah, unfortunately, that transistor nerf really did catch up to my boy.
Damn.
Yeah. Good.
That's
Honestly,
the thing with the Lecky, though.
good. That guy ruined so many formats last gen. Good.
Hold on. We missed something. We didn't Terra.
Was it Terra?
Oh, did you? That's not Terra.
Wait, you said
Oh,
Terra
I
Electric?
didn't Terra either on my thing. Yeah, I said Terra
Oh,
Electric.
my bad.
We know.
Okay. In that case, I got it right. 73.6 to 86 point something.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Man, that's close. That's close.
All right. I honestly, apparently my internal calc without Terra is right. So that's cool. The Terra is just transistor.
Fair enough. I did around 50 something, but I believe I didn't have played. So, but yeah, it's kind of sad to know that you need to click helping hand to get the calcs you were getting with transistor like back in the day. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
but like you said, it's ruined enough formats.
Yeah. And then I guess Diego, do you have a calc ready?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll put it in the chat. But
Also, by the way, you were right. You had 82, right? So you were also correct.
Oh yeah. I was
Yeah.
right. That's right.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right, you got the non-spoiler version?
Yeah, non-spoiler version.
Okay.
How much does Jolly 252 Fire IV Cudgel? How much does it do into Impish 252 Zamzenta?
Okay. All right. I think I got this one.
There's no HP investment in the Zam?
No HP investment.
Okay. Huh.
Just like 252 no HP investment.
Yeah, so like Mightiest Sword versus Mightiest Shield.
All right.
Fair enough.
With super effective.
I got man, I have no idea. Sure, I got a number.
Same. Okay, I think I'm good.
I'm ready as well.
Okay, I'll go NJ first.
I think it'd be doing around like 100. I think it still kills it just because no HP. And then you're giving it the Terra up with the +1 to maybe cancel out the plus ones. I'd say like maybe around 105, 110, like that range. Let's say 110. Lean.
Got it. Okay. Body?
Damn. And I've just had it really confident. Now I'm second guessing, but can't change. I thought my internal calc against normal Zam said doing about 80, and this is no HP, so I'm going up to about 80. Let's say 88.
80.
Well, again, I'm with you on the not changing my answer, Adi, despite further information making me worry. I had 89.
Okay.
So me and Adi just hanging out here, either in right territory or wrong territory. We're gonna be probably holding hands either way. Let's go ahead and run it.
All right. So no HP, 252 defense, impish nature, taken off helping hand with no Terra, and it is in fact. It looks like it is a roll to KO, like you said. It is doing 98 to 117. So still a roll, but you did get it right.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
I had to redeem myself after the 500 turn one. I don't know what I was
this fish
thinking.
is so dead. What are you guys talking about?
I thought that.
All right.
It sort of came out like during the tournament. I would just never Terra Dragon because of like in front of IV Cudgel because I knew I would like sort of live. and because then I get Draco Meteor next turn with Murray.
Yeah, and they're not always that much investment, anyways.
Yeah.
All right. So I got a calc, and so I'm working on a video where I'm looking over the World's Finals, really analyzing it, breaking it down. Really interesting finals. It was a cool set. And interaction that I never really thought I'd see. So we had Iron Valiant with a 4 attack investment. We have the EV spreads now. 4 attack investment, Iron Valiant clicking Spirit Break into the Miraidon that Sarah used, which had 44 HP, 4 defense. No Terra on either of them. How much is the Spirit Break doing?
Ooh.
Okay, so just 4 attack into like a standard Miraidon, right?
Also, by the way,
So I guess-
I messed up. It was supposed to be Jolly, not Adamant, and so it's 91 to 107. So not all the
You guys
multipliers,
are close.
but yeah,
Yeah.
so a little closer. But okay, I feel a little better about that. All right. So yeah, so 4 attack Valiant, like Utah ran into the 44 HP 4 defense Miraidon. How much is it doing? Let me know when y'all are ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, same.
Yeah, I think I'm good to go.
All right, Diego, going with you first. What do you think?
37. I think it's a 3-hit.
The Spirit Break?
Oh, maybe not.
All right.
But I locked it in.
All right,
I
all
locked
right,
it in.
all right.
Maybe
All
it's
right.
throw.
And Navjit, what do you think?
I think it'd probably be doing somewhere between like 75 and 85. I'll go like 83 to be safe.
All right, and Alex, what do you think?
Seems like a good number.
I was on the low end of that, so 75 was actually my number.
All right, so 75, 83, and 37. Maybe forgetting it's super effective.
Yeah. Or how strong is Iron Valiant? I really don't know.
It's base 130 attack stat.
Okay,
Oh,
never
okay.
mind.
Yeah, it's hard. And so yeah, y'all are actually off. It is actually only doing 59 to 70%. It is really not doing very much. Yeah, so doing less than I thought. And fun. So I was looking at that final set, and I remember looking at it and thinking, I wonder if like Spirit Blade plus Hurricane picks up. Does not pick up. Does not pick up the Miraidon with the bulk investment that Siri had. So made it a lot harder for Utah.
Fair enough. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't that strong in my set either. Like it was, I think my cornerstone. He wasn't able to knock it out at a pretty like in a range where I thought he might have more attack investment. I was trying to remember. I thought it had like 120, 130 attack, but it was a bit underwhelming. Yeah, damage wise.
Yeah, it was all bulk, and yeah, like Rafa said in chat, it actually is only a roll to KO, even if you helping hand it. So yeah, just put him in a really awkward position, unable to really KO them right on at the end game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that is going to do it from us. I hope you guys enjoyed. As per usual, if you missed any part of this, you can check it out on YouTube. It'll be going up tomorrow. And yeah, I don't know exactly what our top 10 schedule is going to be like. I guess we're probably going to go back to it on Monday or Tuesday, even though it's going to be a short week. So we'll have a chance to talk more about Regulation H, which is coming up, and maybe recap some more world stuff as well. But yeah, thank you guys for coming by. And Navjit and Diego, thank you so much for coming and talking to us and telling us all about your world run. And congratulations once again on top cutting the world championships.
Yeah, no, thank you for having us.
But yeah, with that, I guess we're gonna throw you over to Alex. Do you have someone in mind? By any chance, I'm pulling it up right now.
No, I don't have it pulled up. I can go look.
All right, I think we're gonna send you over to. Let's go with Len, our hard trick room friend. I don't actually know what he's using, but we're gonna send you over to Len. Make sure tell him where you came from, and yeah, thank you all for coming by. And I'm still in the process of doing that. So, God, where'd it go? Thought I followed him. Is he gone? Did it go?
No, he's still streaming, isn't he?
Oh, man, why can't I find
Should
him?
be.
I'm followed.
What's happened?